Yeah.
Okay, you can start out by telling me when and where you were born and what you remember about the Depression, and we'll go from there.
Well, I was born in Decatur, Indiana, and I'll tell you, I'm one of the few that was ever been delivered by a veterinarian. Now, I don't want you to laugh about that, but there was only in Decatur, Indiana in 1921, there was one doctor, and and Dr. Grandstaff, who was a veterinarian, used to fill in for him, and it is what we call today a midwife. And I was delivered during the night, and they come down there and registered me the next morning. Now my grandmother registered me, and when she registered me, I was Junior Fred Lord. But actually I was Lawrence Frederick Lord Jr. for my father. And then, you want to know where I grew up?
Yeah.
I grew up in Fort Wayne, Indiana. My father and grandfather had a construction company, and they moved to Fort Wayne. And I grew up in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And when the Depression came, my father went completely broke in the city of Fort Wayne. His bank accounts, everything was depleted. So here we went 5 miles south of Fort Wayne, Indiana, and got 5 acres. And he built a home there for us, and we lived there 5 miles south of Fort Wayne, Indiana. And of course, we were on the lot line, and both my brother and I had to go to New Haven, Indiana to school.
Had your father been in the First War?
My father, oh yeah, my father was in the First War. He was gassed at the Argonne. And it did help us a bit through the Depression, because he drew a $15 pension during the Depression. And, well, Paul, that was a lot of money then. And it bought a lot of beans and
$15 a month?
$15 a month he got, because he was gassed at the Argonne.
Did he talk to you much about the First War?
No, not a whole lot. But he always preached to me. He says, if you want to go into the Army, you're going to have to listen, and you're going to be on time. And I guess he was right.
So then you went to school in New Haven?
I went to school in New Haven. And I graduated there in 1940, which at the time after that, I decided to go in service. But then, maybe this might come later to you, but they hung a gold star for me over in New Haven, Indiana. And they invited my mother to come. And my mother, of course they didn't travel or anything, or didn't do a whole lot. And she couldn't understand why they wanted her to come over, so she didn't go. And then later they found out that I was alive, but they hung the gold star for you. Remember that, Virginia? Yeah.
So you enlisted then?
Huh?
What date did you go into service?
I went into service in August of 1940. But I went into service under a deal that they said you could spend 1 year on United States soil, and then at that time they gave you a deal you could have 1 year of foreign service, and that would become double. So I thought, well, I thought 1 year in the United States, but I didn't know I was going to Mississippi. And then war was declared, so I couldn't go to Hawaii. They just, it was done.
Yeah. You took your basic training then in Mississippi?
Basic training at not Jefferson Barracks, but the barracks in Indianapolis. Do you know what that is? It was in Indianapolis that time, and it was later on become quite a finance center for the Army. Yeah.
And then, how did you get into the Army Air Force then?
Huh?
How did you get into the Army Air Force?
Well, when I came back from overseas, I was eligible for discharge. But when I went through my physical, this doctor told me, he says, "You've got no business of getting out of the forces." Because he says, "You got a serious problem with your stomach, you have an ulcer and everything," and he says, "I would say you should re-enlist to get your medical care, because outside you'll never be able to pay it." So I re-enlisted, and that's the way then I continued through the Air Force until 1946 or something in there, when they changed the uniform, and that's when I got in the Air Force. But when I was in, now you're talking about the Army Air Force.
Right. I mean, where did you go after basic training?
Well, after basic training, you know, while I was in basic training, down there in Mississippi, they asked for people to go to the Air Corps. So I went up and took the test, and they qualified me to go to the Air Corps. And then I also qualified for cadets, but only as a bombardier or a second-rated cadet, which I didn't last long, and they washed me out. And then I went to Coyne in Chicago. And then from there on, I went down again to Mississippi, and that was at Gulfport, when they were gathering the mechanics down there, and I qualified for gunnery.
So you took all your gunnery training then at Gulfport?
I took my gunnery training in the city in Arizona. Kingman, Arizona. I took my gunnery training in Kingman, Arizona. And then from there I went to...
was your gunnery training all out of AT-6s?
Out of what?
AT-6s?
AT-11s.
AT-11s?
Yeah. And AT-6 towed the target.
Any tow planes go down while you're out there?
No, I never saw them shoot down. But I'll tell you, Paul, I know that later on during my career, I went to Texas, and I was a member of the 1st Tow Target Squadron. And at that time, the thing is, the different fighter groups would come up, and we were at Texas and down at Eglinfield, California, or Eglinfield, Florida. And the thing is that you have to come up and get even with a tow target ship, and then you make a rapid response and fire at the target. and there was a man named Rules, and he was an engineer just like I was, and they shot him down because they didn't get hit with the total target, and then they made an S turn up towards it, and they shot him down. But we were very careful never to fire, after the target went by.
On the AT-11s, did they have a Sperry turret